Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I leave the library and deliver an episode to you while I walk home. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, greetings to your listeners. It is a chilly day here in suburban Chicago, but I am happily walking home from the library with a couple comics in my backpack and a spring in my step. Well, I don't know about the spring, but I thought I would talk to you today a little bit about some culling I'm doing. I've mentioned a number of times that one of my goals is to reduce the size of my game collection somewhat, and there are a variety of ways to do that. One of the main ones being getting rid of games. I don't know how else you do it, actually. So what I thought I would do is tell you what I'm doing to get rid of some games. Now, this method I'm using right now is not the most efficient way to get rid of games. Why? Why, you ask, Brendan? Because I am participating in the Chicago no-ship math trade. Now, here's the problem with the Chicago no-ship math trade. In it, I get rid of games and I get other games in exchange. So that doesn't really help me get rid of games because I'm getting other games as well. Now, I am making a concerted effort to get rid of more games than I get by having a bunch of games that are matched up to be parts of bundles with the idea of getting rid of bundles of games. So from that perspective, there is a little bit where I am getting rid of more games than I'm getting, but we are not at the point where I've learned what trades I get to make yet. So it's possible that I'll put these games up and no one will take them, which would be a bummer, but whatever, that's the way it goes. So here are the games that I'm getting rid of and my plan and my reasons for it. So what I thought I'd do is go through the list of games I'm getting rid of, tell you what I think of them like in one sentence, and why they're leaving my collection. So we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. First off, Paper Tales. This is a really interesting deck building game. I liked it a lot when I played it, but we never get to play it. It did not grab us when we started, and it's just been sitting around unplayed for a long time. So, Paper Tales. Escape from Aliens in Outer Space. Ooh, this is a creepy hidden movement game in which everybody is hidden movementing, and the aliens are moving around the ship, and people are moving around the ship, and you're all using these little whiteboards. There were two things that put this in the get rid of pile for me. One is the extreme amount of time that I've had it, and I have a lot of optimism for this game because I really wanted to like it, but I have never brought it out again. So there's a point at which you sort of say, well, Brendan, why do you have this really nice game that someone could really enjoy, but you're just leaving in your bookshelf? The other one is when we did play it, there was a goof, and the whole sort of order of the thing got messed up. And so it's a fragile game, or it can be, but it was a really neat experience, and I'm glad we had it, and I would like to play it more, but something's got to go, and it's Escape from Aliens in Outer Space. Next up, Atlandice. This is a relatively new game I got recently as part of a White Elephant Christmas swap. It was fine. If you go back, a couple episodes, you can find my first response reaction to it. That said, it wasn't super compelling, and there are other games I would like better, or even just I wouldn't mind passing it on to someone else and trying something new. So into the math trade it goes. Ooh, this next one took some thinking. I'm getting rid of Terra Mystica. I really like Terra Mystica. I think it's a fantastic game. I have the Fire and Ice expansion, which I think is really neat also. I built a foam core insert for it, so it's really nicely packed in its container. But I have not played it on the table in years. And as much as I enjoy playing it online, and I have played it online many times, it is one of those games where I just don't see myself getting it to the table anytime soon. And if I do have the opportunity, let's say I have the time and the opportunity, I have somebody who's like, hey, let's play a heavy game. Hey, let's take 3 hours to play it. Okay. And I look at my collection. Terra Mystica is never going to be at the top of that list, I don't think, unless they're like, hey, I wish I'd gotten to play Terra Mystica. I never have. Do you think we could play it? Then I would get it out, sure. But short of that, it's just not getting to the table. So into the bin it goes. I hope this podcast isn't super boring because it's just me saying, well, I don't play it, into the bin. But I'm sharing a little bit. That game is really, if you haven't played it, definitely check it out on Board Game Arena. I can't play it in person with you anymore. It's got this neat mechanism where you are building structures and making links and connections, and there's this neat push and pull where you get a bonus if you're near other players and they get a bonus from you, but then you end up blocking each other some. So really interesting. Next up, Clans of Caledonia. I literally talked about this in the last episode, or in the episode I did about games from 2017. Again, I really like it. It's kind of inspired by Terra Mystica. It has a lot of really interesting economic mechanisms, and I love the bits that come in the game, but I never play it. And so it seems silly to hold on to it when I could trade it for something that I might play more. Next up, we have Bargain Quest. Bargain Quest, I was tricked a little bit by the enthusiasm of Shut Up and Sit Down, who thought Bargain Quest was just a hoot. And I think Bargain Quest is one of those games where the conversation, the experience you have from the other people at the table maybe could make it really good, but the game itself is just fine, I thought. You're putting cards out in a shop to sell them, and you're getting points based on whether the adventurers who buy your items come back. It's a fun theme. It's an interesting game, but it didn't really take for us, so out it goes. Next up, we have Visitor at Blackwood Grove. I picked this one up super cheap. It was on sale somewhere. I think I got it for $2 or $3. It wasn't at a Goodwill, but kind of equivalent. We played it once or twice. It's an interesting, weird little deduction game where one player is a child and the other player is like E.T. and the third player is like the government. And E.T. and the child are trying to communicate with each other in order to get E.T. to safety, and the government is trying to intercept those communications and capture the alien. So it's a weird game, really interesting, fun design, but a little too weird for us. Not quite thinky enough to be a good thinky game. A little too thinky to be a good social game. Not good at 2 players. I don't think it really needs 3. So out it goes, Visitor at Blackwood Grove. Next up, Stuffed Fables. This is one I really wanted to like, but I've just discovered that the brand of adventure story that is the Mice and Mystics Stuffed Fables category of story that's being told just doesn't really work for me anymore. It's the same reason I didn't particularly care for Comanauts. It's the reason I'm not that interested in trying Aftermath. Something about the way that Jerry Hawthorne and the other creative folks over at Plaid Hat tell stories just doesn't work for me. I will say that experience is not true. I have really enjoyed our time with Forgotten Waters. I think that the writing in Forgotten Waters is so strong and very funny that we've enjoyed that one. But for the most part, I think I'm stepping away from Plaid Hat story games a bit, and Stuffed Fables is going out the door. Next up, we have Crazy Karts. This is a game from Portal Games. It's a racing game where you're trying to crash into the other people. It's got a really neat 2-player mechanism. One player is like sort of the gunner, and the other person steers. I think one person operates the speed and the other person steers, so there's a little bit of like trying to work together. It's silly, it's goofy, but it's very component heavy and fiddly, and because of that, it never really took for us. My son liked it, and we did have a good time with it when we were playing it, but in the long run, we haven't played it in a long time, and I think it could go. Next up, we've got Pendulum. Pendulum, this one suffered from the I'm the only one who liked it thing. It's a really pretty dead simple worker placement, resource accumulation, set collection game, but combined with a really interesting time-focused mechanism where whenever you place workers down, they have to be in the spot for a certain amount of time, and this time kind of goes back and forth, and when it's going in one direction, you can use the workers, and when it's going the other direction, you can place them. Really interesting mechanism. I think a really fun game, but my wife did not like it at all. And one play, and that was enough. She's like, no, thank you. And so it sat on our shelf for a year and a half or something since we did that one play, and now it's time to go. Next up, Castle Panic. This is a much beloved game that we played for a long time, but we've outgrown it. It's not a game we've played in a while, and every time we have played it recently, we clobber it. So seems like it's time to pass it on to another family who will enjoy it as much as we did. Funkoverse Harry Potter. This game was really disappointing. I was hoping, given the positive reviews when the Funkoverse game came out, that this would be more fun than it was. Instead, it was a very, very simple dueling game, and I did not take to it. So we played it once or twice, and then it went away, and it's been sitting gathering dust, and now it's going to go somewhere else. This next up was a Kickstarter game that I really enjoyed. It's a storytelling game called Machine of Death. I love the premise of this. The idea is that it's a world where there's a machine, and you can go get your blood sampled by the machine, and it will tell you how you die. It won't tell you when you die, and it sometimes has a bit of a sense of humor, like the Oracle of Delphi. The example they give in one of the things is it could say killed by a yacht, and then you could die when so you spend your whole life away from the sea, and then you die when a yacht comes off the trailer on the freeway or something. So that sort of thing is part of the idea. But the notion is that you are assassins in the world where this device exists. And so you have to figure out how to kill people creatively so that their death will meet the prediction on their card, because if it doesn't, they can't die. It's impossible to kill someone if it doesn't match their card. So it's a goofy, fun, silly game. I enjoyed it the few times we played it, but haven't touched it in a while, and I think other people might like to try it. All right, I have 3 games that are bundled: the Gloom City File Adventure games, Exit the Sinister Mansion, and Crimes and Capers High School Hijinks. These are all one-play games that we've one-played, although the Exit one, we did not play this copy. When we opened it, we realized we'd already played this game in a different copy. So all 3 of these games are ready to play, and hopefully someone will take them. Then I have a bundle of small box card games. I'm going to read these off real quick. We got Spires, Scoundrel Society, Unreal Estate, Chez Geek, Where Art Thou, Romeo, Twist of Fate, Letterpress, and Crow's Overkill. These are all interesting little small box card games. They're fun to play. I would love to have somebody play them. They aren't getting played at our house, so it's time for them to go. My favorite of these, the one I'm most sort of regretting getting rid of, is Spires. That one I thought was really interesting and deserves another look. Unreal Estate was also a pretty good set collection game, very cute. And then finally, I have a 4-game abstract collection with Inner Compass, City Square Off, Gambit, and Gearseed Saga and Synod. So I guess it's 5 games. But these are all kind of abstract games with relatively simple rule sets, but interesting, complex mechanisms. I think somebody who wants to try some new ones like this would be happy with this exchange. So those are the games that I'm getting rid of in the upcoming math trade. I will make another episode once the math trade has completed and let you know what I got in exchange. In the meantime, thanks for joining me on my walk today. If you were trading with me, which of those games would you want to get hold of? Let me know over at Board Game Geek Guild 3269, where I'll be waiting to hear from you. Thanks for joining me on walk today. I hope that your next walk is as pleasant, although less windy, than mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.